How does a penguin build its house?
How?
It glues it together.
Those flightless bastards ain't building shit. Everyone, welcome back to Brandon Coverage. I'm Brandon Carney, alongside Pat Gustafson. Pat, very special show today. It's our final show before our draft, which is this upcoming weekend. We are packing a bunch of dudes into an Airbnb, doing some unspeakable, unmentionable things, and at some point in between all that, we will draft fantasy football teams. But it's good. It's going to be sweaty.
There's a hot tub there, and I might be naked in it for 90% of the trip, including during the draft.
I was going to say, I've also made it very clear that I will not be exiting the hot tub. So maybe we get a little hot tub live stream there in there as well for like 10 minutes, before we're both too, erect to continue that live stream.
For the love of God.
Folks, we've got a great show for you today. We've got plenty of news to catch up on. It's mostly a viewer mailbag. We figure before the biggest fantasy football draft weekend of the year, which is Labor Day weekend. It's not just for me and Pat. It is statistically when the most drafts happen just around the world, which is smart of everybody because you want to do it as close to the season as possible. We wanted to answer as many questions as possible just because, it makes sense. We want to cater to you guys as much as we can here down to the wire. So viewer mailbag after the news, and then we will also be doing our yearly, maybe a little later than normal, but our DST defensive breakdown because, Pat, we are very big proponents of the streaming defense strategy, and so we are going to give you guys the best defenses to stream to start the year. It's always wonderful if you can find one of those defenses that are set and forget, but that is just very hard to do and honestly pretty random year to year, so you can't really predict it. We believe in streaming, and if you manage to stumble upon one of those set and forgets, then great, more power to you. But we are going to set you up here for the first month of the season or so, at least for week one.
Yeah.
But, Pat, we've got plenty of news. A lot of contract shit has happened, so let's get into it.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
The Washington Commanders have signed Terry McLaurin to a 3-year, $96 million extension. I believe it maths out to a 4-year, $120 million deal when you add it on to whatever he was making this year. But he is under contract, Pat. I find it very funny every year, and I made a video roughly relating to this today, but the fact that these deadlines are always what spur these deals to get done. It's like, guys, you knew this deadline was coming anyway. Why did you both have to be so weird about it leading up? We knew you have it on the calendar that the season will start eventually. You could just get this done sooner, but I guess human nature.
They just wanted to foster as much ill will with these players. Even for Terry being extended now, he can still be kind of pissed. And Trey Hendrickson is so far out the goddamn door, it's not even funny now.
Trey Hendrickson's going to have senioritis all year.
It's a win-win. He wins twice.
Yeah. So Trey Hendrickson also got his, not an extension, I guess, but the money got extended. The money got extended. He is going to be making $30 million in 2025, and then he will be a free agent in 2026. And before you say, oh, well, they can just franchise tag him. Yes, technically, but the franchise tag would be about $36 million for Trey Hendrickson. I guess you could argue they could do that because Myles Garrett's making 40, but Trey Hendrickson is not as well-rounded of a defensive player despite the sack numbers that a guy like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt is. So that's pretty unlikely. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent.
And the fact that they're massive payroll on the other side of football as well.
That's true. They may literally not be able to do it. Yeah. So Trey Hendrickson got his deal. Terry McLaurin got his deal. Pat, how do we feel about Terry McLaurin from a fantasy perspective? Just in terms of the fact that he's missed so much of this camp time and preseason time, because we've talked before about him, about how there's, plenty of touchdown regression likely for him. All these sort of things that didn't really talk about the fact that he's missing this time. Are you worried about the fact that he hasn't played any camp at all?
It doesn't particularly change how I feel about him. He wasn't necessarily going to be a guy that I was actively targeting. If it kind of shook out where I needed to take him in a spot, I would have, but I'm not terribly worried about it in the sense that I would be more concerned if there was really anything new about this situation. Same team, same quarterback, same offensive coordinator, same good players. And if that wasn't the case, then maybe I'd be a little more concerned. I mean, he's going right now around the 4-5 turn, which I think is just a little rich in general, outside, for reasons you just mentioned, namely some touchdown regression. But yeah, I think obviously this benefits Jaden Daniels a ton, having his guy there. And Washington as a whole is just going to operate a whole lot better.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit about the time missed just because there is a sort of ramp up period that you would like to have. I mean, look, we all assume he's been in shape and working out and all that, but on top of the regression concerns I already had and just the fact that the Commanders have added some of these weapons, it doesn't make me feel great that you could also be looking at just a slower start in general for McLaurin. I'm with you. It doesn't really change a whole lot from a draft strategy perspective because he wasn't really on my board to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, if he falls 2 rounds past ADP, then sure, yeah, I'll take the wide receiver
Exactly.
one on a pretty up-and-coming offense with a great young quarterback. But outside of that, like, I'm not super interested in Terry in general. Speaking of the Washington Commanders, Pat, they traded their running back, Brian Robinson Jr., to, of all places, folks, hold on, let me hit this real quick. The San Francisco 49ers. Not the team I saw him going to. He is going to be a very clear, change of pace backup guy, which he was probably destined to be anywhere he went. But he could have, in theory, gone to one of these places that he had at least a reasonable path at being their top back, a place like Chicago, a place like Dallas. But he ends up in San Francisco, going to keep Christian McCaffrey fresh. Now, look at this from both sides. Let's look at this from the Commanders side first. Bill Merritt, baby, to the moon, I guess. Now, little bit of cold water on the Bill Merritt train because
I'll pour a lot of it if you don't.
I'm going to pour a decent amount. Now, I'll say this, first of all, on ESPN drafts right now, on ESPN mock drafts, ESPN rankings, whatever you want to talk about, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt has climbed to 82nd overall, which is a little insane.
That's ridiculous.
Look, I love me some camp risers, some 7th round, excitement, 7th round NFL draft excitement as much as anybody, but based on what Dan Quinn has said about this running back room, which is Chris Rodriguez is going to be in the mix on the goal line. Austin Eckler, obviously, friend of the show, is not going to be two-time friend of the show, is not going anywhere. We like his value as, playing his role in a high-powered offense. And on top of that, he said our run game is also not going to be conventional, which, I mean, I think we knew that. All that tells me is, hey, we have Jaden Daniels and Deebo Samuel on our roster. We know that. So this is just not... look, here's 2 things can be true. I think there's a chance that Ja'Cory Bill Krosky Merritt is the best running back in this backfield.
Absolutely.
There's absolutely a chance of that. There's also a good chance that this is a 3-way nightmare committee and he's not worth the 82nd overall pick. I will absolutely advocate for him if his price is more reasonable, because I think he's in a very comparable situation, although we assume not as talented of a player, as a Travion Henderson, a guy I absolutely love, a guy who's going to be in a backfield, that's going to be in a committee, that's going to have a running quarterback of its own. But I like Travion because I believe the talent will win out. I think that could happen with Ja'Cory, Bill, but might take a little longer and might not be as hostile of a takeover for a guy who was a 7th round pick.
Well, I was about to say, you've got to look at it from the perspective of he's a 7th round pick and Travion Henderson's a 2nd round pick.
Right.
And I was actually reading a rather scathing a kind of review on Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt on, I think it was Last Word on Football there, basically saying, like, hey, here's why he was a 7th round pick. He's just not that good. And I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you what I just read about 15 minutes ago. But the fact that he's jumped Austin Eckler in ADP is crazy. Yeah. Is crazy to me. Like, could he be the ultimate ceiling play? Could he be the guy that wins you leagues? Absolutely. Could he also be a guy that does scenic nothing the first 4 weeks of the year? Absolutely too. And that's the thing why I will take Eckler's floor, especially now that they're going at similar costs. I will take Eckler's floor where there's still room for ceiling. This is still a good offense. We knew he was going to have his role. He could always eat into some of the Brian Robinson role. And I don't think this just happens without all the Chris Rodriguez love that has been coming out of through camp. Like, if they just had Eckler and Bill, they would still have Brian Robinson. I think the fact that Chris Rodriguez has garnered such rave reviews from the coaching staff there that they felt comfortable doing this. But again, it's Washington. It's going to be a good offense. And I want a piece of it if I can. I'm going to let some overzealous guy take Jakrowski Merritt, Dan Orlovsky Merritt in the whatever round. Austin Eckler at ADP right now, Fantasy Pros had him at 122. So that's early round 11 there. That's incredible value. And Chris Rodriguez is a great late round dart.
Yeah, I'll say this. This is how I expect the backfield to play out. And I could be wrong, but this is the sense I get. Bill is going to get most of the care. Like, Bill, I believe, will have the most flat-out carries for this team. He will be the lead back. But he's going to cede a lot of passing down work, a lot of 2-minute work to Austin Eckler. And then he's going to cede some work to Chris Rodriguez at the goal line. And then, on top of, he will still lead the team in carries, but he's going to cede some of that between the 20s carry work to Jaden Daniels, obviously, whether scripted or unscripted, and Deebo Samuel. So it's not going to be pretty. And it hurts me to say, Pat, because listeners of the show, I mean, we've been doing this for years now. They know I am as hype beastie as it gets with these guys. I was big into old Bill a couple weeks ago, but like, even for me, 82, I can't do it at 82. There's too many guys, whether at the running back position or otherwise, going around that range in drafts that are so much more bankable from a volume perspective that as much as I want to be in on the hot new thing of this year, I'm going to be looking elsewhere for a different hot new thing unless his ADP comes down a little bit, because right now it is out of control.
Being in a 3-man committee should be enough to not be worth that ADP. And I'm not convinced he's not number 3 right now. And that, again, could that change throughout the year? Absolutely. Absolutely. The hype could be real. But at the end of the day, this is a 7th round pick. And this is a guy who is still sitting behind Austin Eckler, 2-time friend of the show, who was solid last year in his, when his couple weeks were Brian Robinson. But again, they believed in Bill. They believed in Chris Rodriguez enough to trade Brian Robinson to San Francisco, which in fact sucks all of the life out of Brian Robinson's fantasy stock, because he goes from being the number 1 in a gross committee to a definitive backup. Like, for McCaffrey, I actually think this is great for Christian McCaffrey. Now they have somebody better than Isaac Guerendo, an established running back on his own, to spell Christian McCaffrey, because for the sake of that man's body, they need to do whatever they can to preserve him. For their own sake, too, let alone our silly little fantasy perspective. So I actually like it for McCaffrey. Like, yeah, he'll lose some touches to this, but will it be consequential? No, because if this guy was getting every touch in the field, he was going down with a sprained calf in week 5. I think more so this just kills Brian Robinson. He goes to a absolute elite handcuff now in San Francisco behind one of the more injury-plagued running backs and a solid running back in his own right. That makes for a great handcuff.
Yeah, I do think he's clearly the backup to own in San Francisco, and should something happen to Christian McCaffrey, Brian Robinson's going to be really good. That's just what the San Francisco scheme does, Pat. You saw me tweet about it earlier. I was like, It was a very funny tweet about Isaac Guerendo, where the Niners basically just are like, yeah, Isaac Guerendo's not good enough. And you look at what he did last year, and you're like, how is that not good enough? And you're like, okay, I guess that just tells us that scheme could make me into a 1,000-yard back if they gave me enough attempts and I was guaranteed not to die. So they think Brian Robinson's better than Guerendo. Guerendo put up good numbers last year. If something happens to McCaffrey, Brian Robinson is wheels up.
Why'd you trade Jordan Mason then? It is a good sign for everybody that Jeff Wilson did, in fact, not make the team, for everyone's sake, because you know that we would have seen some nasty-ass touchdowns from that guy when we didn't even need to be seeing that 5 years ago, let alone now.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. This doesn't change anything materialistically for Christian McCaffrey. If you are a McCaffrey drafter or owner this year, you don't want him to get 30 touches a game. He will die. You want him to get
exactly
20-ish to 25 on a heavy day.
That'll be
if
plenty.
He's going to hold up all year.
For a player that good in a system that good, that will be plenty.
Yeah. The efficiency will be perfectly fine. He will be an RB1 for you as long as he is healthy on that touch total. Fucking Najee Harris, man. The Chargers have moved Najee Harris to the active roster. We don't know at this point if he's going to be ready for week 1. It doesn't seem that way, but they did not commit themselves to him missing 4 weeks, which is the point
Exactly.
here. He is going to be on the roster. He can play at any time. This definitely dampens my outlook on Hampton just a little.
Yeah.
I'll say not a lot, because at the end of the day, if Omarion Hampton cannot beat out this one-eyed goon who has been entirely inefficient for the last couple years, then Omarion Hampton's probably not going to be that good of a player anyway if he can't do that. So you assume and hope talent will win out on a very run-heavy offense that we project it to be. We know Greg Roman, Harbaugh love to run the ball. They have the O-line to do it, even minus Rashawn Slater this year. But it just dampens it a little bit because regardless of what Greg Roman says about, even if Najee's not out there, it's going to be involving another guy. Okay, sure. But Hampton was going to get lion's share of the carries. We may be looking at more of a split here now, Pat. How do you feel about Najee Harris apparently returning from the dead sooner rather than later?
I thought Omarion Hampton was moving a little too quickly up ADP. Granted, Najee goes on IR. Him going around 30th right now is very justified. But the fact that we've heard nothing about Najee Harris can't lead me to believe he's going to pop up and be ready to play football in 10 days. There's just nothing that leads me to believe that. But again, the fact that he may only miss a couple games, could Hampton just blow it out of the water and them not need to really bring Najee Harris back full-fledged? They could kind of work him back in. Hampton is absolutely talented enough. That's absolutely the run-heavy offense for that to work. It's not changing my outlook on Hampton. Like I said, I just thought it was slightly rich at the moment. And I think now we may see it fall, his ADP fall a half dozen spots or so to make it a bit more palatable.
Yeah, I will say if you're a Hampton believer, this is a guy that now you could probably get at a better cost this weekend if you haven't drafted yet.
Very much so, sure.
And it's really long for long term, and long term I'm talking about this season, playing out the whole season. It really shouldn't change much. Again, if Omarion Hampton is really that guy that we think he is, that we want him to be, that is making him be a roughly third-round fantasy pick, he's going to beat out Najee Harris anyway, regardless of if Najee's healthy. So maybe this fear knocks him down a little bit, can get him at a cheaper cost, and get in on what is theoretically the second-best rookie running back of the class.
Yeah.
Pat, your boy Jacoby Myers has requested a trade, apparently, and the Raiders don't care. They say they have no intent to grant it. But then they also signed Amari Cooper. So, not that necessarily relates, but there's some weird vibes happening.
I think it relates in the other direction because obviously the Raiders didn't just say, surprise, here's Amari Cooper. They obviously saw him on the facility. Jacoby Myers probably had an idea that Amari Cooper's signing was imminent, and maybe that's what it was. I don't think this was a case that the Raiders went and got Cooper because of Myers' trade request. I think if anything, we're flipping it. The situation's just weird. From the perspective that, Myers makes his money in the middle, in the slot. And you look at it from the perspective outside, they just have Trey Tucker and Deontay Thornton. And because even Jack Besh is probably better suited in the slot as well, they needed some help outside. So you take this Jacoby Myers trade, request out of it. It makes sense that they went and got a veteran, a capable veteran. He is not Amari Cooper that was there when he got drafted or when he was in Dallas or even his best years in Cleveland. But, I'd say something of an upgrade from Trey Tucker and Deontay Thornton, but he has no intrinsic fantasy value to me.
No, God, no.
And Deontay Thornton's been one of my favorite late round guys here in the going. And Jacoby Myers, it does kind of scare me a little bit off of him because is there also an impending cut in his target share? Are they going to work in Jack Besh and Deontay Thornton more? Is that what? And then obviously Amari Cooper, and Brock Bowers is going to still get a ton of stuff. Is he just kind of seeing the writing on the wall that maybe, hey, I may not be involved here as I want to be, and that's why if I'm taking anything away from all this, it scares me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was not super in on the Jacoby Myers value train because of, by the way, I'll correct you now, Dante Thornton, Pat.
Is it Dante? I thought
it's Dante. No,
son of a...
I've not been super in on Jacoby, and again, I will cop to this flaw of mine in fantasy analysis as well, is just expecting a little too much. I guess this is just the hype beast thing again, but I really like what I've seen from Dante Thornton. I like what I've heard about Deontay Thornton all preseason. He's going to be a starter for this team. And I think he's got the talent to make a real dent in Jacoby Myers' target share to the degree that, like, I don't think Jacoby Myers is going to be a super reliable starter that all these people think he's going to be. I think you're looking at, an offense that, look, I like the Raiders offense. I may go on a mini rant later about liking the Raiders offense, but, like, he could reasonably be the third, if not third highest target earner in the offense, third fantasy sort of scorer in the offense. Obviously Brock Bowers is going to outscore him. And Dante Thornton, I just think, is a more fantasy viable type of player. And so if he shows the capability to produce on a down-to-down basis, like, we know what Jacoby Myers is at this point. Jacoby Myers does not demand targets because of his skill set. Jacoby Myers has demanded targets because he is a solid player and he's been one of the only players in this receiving corps. But there is room for him to be jumped by players that are simply better than him. And I think Dante Thornton could be one of those guys this year. So I'm with you. I think, the writing, he may be seeing it on the wall. He wants a new deal as well. He's a good player. He's got his place on an offense, but from a fantasy in real life, very much different things when it comes to Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
And then Amari Cooper, I just think is dust. So whatever.
Let your league mates who haven't paid attention in 5 years see that name.
I got a comment because I mentioned Amari Cooper in my video I posted today as well, and somebody was like, Amari Cooper's still good, he just didn't play with the Bills. And I was like, I fear if Amari Cooper was still good, he would have played for the contender that desperately needed a wide receiver. But
exactly.
I digress. The Saints have named Spencer Rattler their starting quarterback. I mean, they were choosing between rock and hard place here.
Ew!
This is not much. We knew it was going to be him or Shuck. Neither of those things really inspire us. If anything, this is a bit of an indictment on a guy who is an older rookie quarterback who we thought was coming in, to the season pretty league ready. And he got beat out by Spencer Rattler, who has shown precious nothing in the NFL thus far. Maybe he takes a leap. He's still young, but
remember when he was going to be like the number 1 overall pick back in his
and then he got ran out of town by Caleb Williams and
yeah.
was never the same.
But yeah, I mean,
it's just gross.
I still like Alvin Kamara, just from the perspective that
that's fair.
Whoever's playing quarterback, it's going to be yucky. They're going to be running for their lives. They're going to be throwing the ball to the first guy they see, and the first guy they're going to see is Alvin Kamara 3 yards out in front of him. He's still going to have some hilarious PPR games this year. And I was looking his ADP. I was really surprised. 40th overall, so that's like mid-late 4th round. I think that's pretty good value there for him. And Chris Olave is one of the guys I'm more torn on here. I have taken him in a draft so far, kind of being on the side of hoping something turns out of it. The guy is so talented. We saw such a talented prospect come out of Ohio State, and it's like, can Kellen Moore squeeze anything out of these quarterbacks? Enough to have Chris Olave be a viable fantasy option? I think it's possible, but it comes down to, one, the injuries. We joke about Tua, but this guy's one hit to the head away. He's one hit to the head away from being a can of Campbell's soup, and
trade him to the Lions.
Shit, and then it comes back to the fact that Spencer Rattler and potentially Tyler Shuck at some point, and potentially Taysom Hill week 17 are his starting quarterbacks, and it's like, is that going to produce the value for where 76? That's, come on, math, you dick.
It's basically the start of the 7th round.
Yeah, which isn't bad. Thank you. Yeah. Which isn't bad. But still, I feel like there are players with a little less risk there.
Yeah, I'm torn as well. I loved Chris Olave his rookie year. I think I had him his rookie year, and just an incredibly fun player to watch. And we don't really have a section for preseason week 3 notes this week because there just wasn't a lot. Most teams played their backups. But the one note that did sort of exist was Chris Olave played a lot out of the slot in the Saints week 3 preseason game, which is good news for him. Yeah. Kellen Moore has done a great job getting the most out of players who are his primary slot guys, and Chris Olave's efficiency is better out of the slot. Generally, for fantasy, we love when guys are in the slot, at least when they are also on the field in 2 receiver sets. But we like when they can rotate between slot, outside. Just great for their efficiency, not as predictable. It's all good news there. And so the fact he's being used that way is great. The quarterback situation is obviously a fucking problem, but Chris Olave is a guy that, like, Pat, I don't know that I want him in, like, our league. Let's say you're playing in one league, maybe two leagues. I don't know that I'm targeting Chris Olave.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy, though, that if you're one of those people that's in a million leagues, like, and I hate talking this way because I think best ball has just ruined fantasy football discourse, but, like, I would like some exposure to Chris Olave if I was that type of fantasy player. Like, I would want him on some of my secondary fantasy teams just in case, because I really do see the path there. It's just there's a lot of, there's a decent amount of resistance in the way as well. And the Browns traded Kenny Pickett to the Raiders. This is irrelevant, but I wanted to mention it because it's gross and hilarious. Okay, couple of cut day quick hits. Obviously, rosters being cut down. Not a whole lot of fantasy relevance among the cuts here, but just a couple things I wanted to mention. The Seahawks did cut Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which is notable because they are eating $3 million guaranteed by cutting Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He was an offseason signing this offseason, which this is just a huge vote of confidence for rookie Torrey Horton. Will that translate to fantasy relevance? I don't know. The opportunity is going to be there, though, for some sort of role in this offense.
That's the thing. Another question here is, we like the Clint Kubiak move over there, and they see enough in him for him to kind of become that number 3 guy. But is that viable in this Seattle offense with Sam Darnold at quarterback? I'm not ready to say yes to that, but it does leave him one injury away. One injury to JSN or Cooper Kupp away from potentially being a player here. So may not be someone you're necessarily drafting, but definitely someone to watch here going into week 1.
Yeah, and an important thing with Torrey Horton, too, is the Seahawks are one of the few teams in the NFL that are expected to use a fullback on a pretty regular basis, which means they are going to be running 2 wide receivers out there instead of 3 quite a bit, which means it'll probably be obviously JSN, but then also Cooper Kupp. So Torrey Horton may not be on the field for enough snaps right off the bat to be fantasy relevant, even if, the snaps he is on the field, he's very efficient, productive if everything works out great. He could certainly push Kupp for some of those 2 receiver set snaps as the season goes on, but this is just a situation where I'm maybe more tentative than I would be for a team that doesn't use a fullback, and this guy can at least be on the field a little bit more.
5th round from Alabama, Robbie Ousts.
Oots, I think. Dude, he's been killing it. He was killing it in the preseason. Like, we don't talk about him because he's a fullback, so it's not going to be fantasy relevant production, but, like, their first preseason game, he, like, caught passes and, like, ran the ball and was good. Like, he's...
of anybody.
He's going to be a stud.
I love me some fullbacks, man.
You're going to love Robbie Outs. When he hits the mainstream,
that it's a dying art.
He's going to be the reviver.
That said, it does crack me up when the guys, like, I saw, like, Texans current backfield and British Brooks was listed. It's like, motherfucker, British Brooks may not take a single handoff all year. Like, yes, he technically has back in his position and he is on the active roster. That's it. But that had me thinking of fullbacks and how I missed them so dearly.
Yeah, well, you've got a bit of a throwback here in Robbie Outs. You should watch some Seahawks football this year because they're going to use this guy a fucking lot, which is why I'm also so bullish on the Seahawks run game just in general. And the other semi-relevant note here, the Panthers cut Hunter Renfrow, who they brought back, was looking pretty good in camp, and we thought could compete for some slot snaps here and there as a reliable target for Bryce Young. Well, didn't make the team, which just means Adam Thielen is back on the menu. A lot of reports that the Vikings were trying to trade for him given their receiving woes with all the injuries and then the Jordan Addison suspension. It's basically Justin Jefferson and a pile of dust over there right now. So they've been trying to reunite with Adam Thielen. As of now, no deal has come together, so we cannot expect that one will, which means, Pat, like, Hunter Renfrow's cut. Adam Thielen's probably going to be a thing. Like, I don't think a necessarily fantasy relevant thing, but, like, he was a fantasy relevant thing last year for parts of the season.
They didn't have Tet McMillan.
But different role. I mean, Thielen will be that slot guy. Here's the thing. He may rotate with Jalen Coker enough in there that it renders both of them useless, and Tet is the only...
unite!
Tet is the only consistently reliable target out there. But, like, I do think the Panthers' offense is good enough that they can support 2 receivers, and it's obviously going to be Tet, and then maybe it will be Thielen, depending on the snap, share there with Jalen Coker.
We don't believe in Xavier Leggett here, or...
Not really. No.
Okay.
He didn't do enough last year and then just got a completely usurping weapon here. So
That's how the better rookie right over.
Yeah, I'm a little bit over him from a fantasy relevance perspective. He could be a nice real life player for them to have, but no. Okay.
Funny accent.
Very funny. I love hearing him talk. Injury report. Oh, wait, why am I not doing the thing?
Ouch.
Man, that soundbite is just way longer than it needs to be, but I love it. Joe Mixon is out at least 4 weeks confirmed, Pat. This doesn't really change anything. We kind of expected this. Joe Mixon, as we mentioned, I think last week, still off our draft boards. At least he's off my draft board. I don't know if you're interested in him if he falls to the 9th, 10th round. I guess you could put him in an IR spot now. So that at least makes him semi-palatable, but he's out. So we are not considering Joe Mixon at this point. All the vibes are bad. I would not be surprised if he misses the entire season. So Nick Chubb, Pat, as you noted here, rested with the starters last week. And I think we touched on this as well, picking out of the backfield, out of all the ambiguous backfields who we wanted. But how are you feeling now with this confirmation? You still picking Chubb if you got a gun to your head, pick a back out of this group?
I mean, I think the way I see this is this could get messy here with Dameon Pierce, with Woody Marks. I think if a Texan running back not named Joe Mixon is going to help you win games this year, it'll probably be Nick Chubb at the beginning of the season. And then maybe things may get yucky. But we're, for a couple weeks here, he may be the guy just out of being Nick Chubb and being a veteran. And I know you and I are both pretty bullish on this Texans offense here. So as down as I am on Nick Chubb just from the perspective of his health and his senior citizen 29-year-old age.
He's 85.
Might as well be dead by that point. Yeah, and I was surprised. A quick plug for the Brandpire League draft. Nobody drafted Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb is our RB1, baby. Let's go.
Nick Chubb was the first name I said to Brandon after the draft ended. I'm like, I hate it, but we need Nick Chubb. But yeah, I don't necessarily... I mean, if Mixon does come back at some point, expect Mixon to just be, in terms of at least the role, to get his role back. Production, that's a whole other story. But I don't expect a whole lot of variance out of this backfield to the point where one guy's going to be that much better than the other. I think if we're talking just right now, first few weeks of the season, give me Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope for Dameon Pierce, man. I think the scheme fit, that is just something that not enough people are talking about yet. And I feel like they will once the season gets going, if he proves he can succeed within that scheme again. The problem is that Nick Chubb, even if Pierce does have more juice, Nick Chubb's probably going to get that goal line work either way, given his skill set and his trustworthiness in pass protection. So yeah, backfield's going to be gross, probably not investing in it too much. And yes, what Pat and I were referencing, the Vampire League that we have started, some of you may have absorbed that information, some of you may not have. But we did the draft. Pat and I basically had to put together a team of just free agents while 9 other teams drafted. And our RB1 is Nick Chubb. Our other running backs consist of Rico Dowdle, Jerome Ford.
Yes, he lives!
Jerome Ford lives. I picked up somebody today.
You picked up Ollie Gordon today.
I picked up Ollie Gordon.
We'll talk
today.
about very shortly.
Talk about him in a second. So yeah, it's looking hilarious there for our Vampire team.
But we had another funny one.
If we put together some wins here, we will be able to acquire some players that make us less ass.
Oh dear God! Well, we had Jalen Wright, sad. Oh, Braylon Allen. We've got Braylon Allen.
We got Braylon Allen. I picked up your boy Dante Thornton today too.
We still need 3. We still need 3 roster spots here.
Yeah, well, whatever.
This is...
Pick up fucking Tom Brady. Who cares? All right, next up, we've got Tyjae Spears placed on injured reserve, Pat. He is out at least 4 weeks. This was one that I wasn't sure if he was going to be back by week 1 or not, and so I kind of tempered my hype on Tony Pollard. Pat, I love Tony Pollard for early in the season. I really do. I think Tony Pollard is like Tony Pollard without Tyjae Spears, assuming that Khalil Mullings does not significantly eat into anything in this backfield. Tony Pollard is like James Conner light to me. Boring, older, but is going to get all the work, is talented enough, and has I'll tentatively say good enough offense to give you some running back production. I don't know what the Titans are going to be, but they'll be better than last year, and Tony Pollard was good last year.
That's what I was about to say. You could say, oh, how good is this team going to be? If they're even a little bit better than last year, then that's a good thing for Tony Pollard. I kind of liked him just from the perspective that, we really haven't seen it from Tyjae Spears yet. A little bit back in his Derrick Henry, when he was with Derrick Henry. But last year he was hurt and then, didn't have a lot of time to really take a big role in that offense. So this could be another case where Tony Pollard can kind of just set the tone and say, hey, I'm the back, and Tyjae Spears could be the more change of pace back that he's known to be. But Pollard's a very good pass catcher. He was in Dallas, and again, this is not some sort of great situation to be in because at the end of the day, it is still the Titans. This is a clear-cut RB1.
Yeah.
And where he's going right now in the late 50s there, that is round 5. Getting a clear-cut starting running back like that, good. Good for me.
An ideal sort of pick, especially if you go with a more zero
in the dead zone.
Zero RB strategy, which I don't advise this year. But if you do it, Tony Pollard is definitely a guy that you can get to really bring your roster together. Jalen Wright, not expected to be ready for week 1, which puts Ollie Gordon on the menu, Pat. And Ollie Gordon is a guy that I have been passively interested in just because I am always on alert for these guys that are super on the radar one year in college and then completely off the radar the next. Because I'm like, you still have that in you. I know you do. It's somewhere in there. Ollie Gordon was literally in the Heisman conversation 2 years ago and then just had a down year for Oklahoma State, ended up being a 6th-round pick this year. Now he's got a path to legitimate playing time for this team, especially on the goal line. It's looking like Devon Achane is going to be okay for week 1, but I would draft Ollie Gordon very late in my drafts just to see if he can provide that sort of, obviously much different player than Mostert, but a couple years ago when Mostert and Achane were doing their fucking thing, if he can provide that sort of complementary dual running back presence that the Dolphins want. Because Jalen Wright, Pat, again, he sucked this preseason, and he sucked last season in terms of efficiency. Like, I want it to work out for him, but now he's going to miss week 1. If Ollie Gordon performs week 1 in however many touches he gets, 5 to 7 maybe, he could possibly take that job and not look back. So I am very intrigued by Ollie Gordon with the opportunity he's about to get.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's becoming a lot more clear-cut in terms of Alexander Madison's done. Now Jalen Wright will be out for some time.
Really, everything's broken right for him.
Aaron Blumpkin and Mike Boone, whoever the hell else they brought in. Yeah, this is a good opportunity because, I don't necessarily think the Dolphins are going to have a very good record at the end of this year, but they are still kind of going to be that Mike McDaniel, fast-paced, creative offense. They find a way to get their running backs involved. It's going to be a fantasy viable offense no matter how their real-life team actually is, unless it's the result of Tua. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Unless it's a result of Tua being out. But as long as Tua plays, this still should be a good fantasy offense. And again, if he is a significant piece of that, you want that. You want that on your team.
100%. And last note here, the Packers are leaning toward putting Marshawn Lloyd on IR. Now, we knew Marshawn Lloyd was dealing with injury issues again. This does move me a little, Pat, just because Marshawn Lloyd alone was not forcing me to fade Josh Jacobs. I've never been a big Josh Jacobs guy. I'm very much in on Josh Jacobs now with no credible threat to any of his volume. We knew, again, he was going to get the lion's share of touches either way. He was going to get the goal line work, all that. But
big load back, yep.
Big load back. But there were plenty of signs that the Packers wanted to at least mix somebody in, see what kind of juice somebody else has. That was going to be Marshawn Lloyd, if anybody. I do not necessarily fear Emmanuel Wilson. I do not fear Chris Brooks. Josh Jacobs is a high volume back on what is going to be at least an average to above average offense. I mean, the Packers, I think, will be pretty good this year. He feels like as vanilla and safe of a pick as you can get, like in the 2nd round, which is where he's going. So very much interested in Josh Jacobs, largely because he fits my draft philosophy of just be as safe as possible in the first 3 rounds. Like, get yourself that foundation and then build from there with the sort of league winner types.
Another situation where, I think no matter how many wins and losses they have as a real team, being a running back on a Matt LaFleur team is going to make you a very appealing fantasy asset.
Right. So just removes any sort of minor concern you may have had. Wheels up for Josh Jacobs here. All right. We've got our viewer mailbag, Pat.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
So I put out the call on my YouTube page for some fantasy football questions. I plucked some of the best ones here, so we are going to run through them. First question. If I miss out on the top 3 tight ends, is it a good call to wait until the last round and get a guy like Gesicki or Chigakonkwo? This question from EZ Sports NFL. In general, I like your strategy. If you miss out on the top 3, I am certainly waiting on tight end. I don't like that second tier of tight ends very much. I will say I don't like Mike Gesicki at all. Do not draft Mike Gesicki. Chigakonkwo is absolutely a great late round tight end dart throw. We've talked about him on the show many times. Over the last few weeks, he seems like he is in line for a lot of playing time in this Titans offense, more so than he has been the last couple of years. And with Cam Ward now under center, he has a real chance to be the number 2 target getter behind Calvin Ridley. So I think Chigakonkwo is a great stab. But yes, philosophically, if you miss out on that top 3, I am not drafting the likes of Evan Engram or... I mean, God, who else is even in it? Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, they're not for me. I would rather wait and throw those darts.
But here's the thing is I would be taking in that range someone like David Njoku, my pal, Tucker Kraft, your boy, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. Like, yes, your philosophy is right in the sense that if you don't get one of the top guys, wait. You may not have to wait that long, though. Like, you're still in a position where you can get a starting tight end in, like, round 9, 10, where, you have already filled out multiple bench spots where you're getting it. So you're still getting a value there. Like, I consider anything outside of your real starting lineup as a good value there for a potential starting tight end. If you want to go really late, I do think Chig is a good option. You guys know I'm a big Brent and Strange glazer this year. Obviously,
Taylor,
Brand's...
your boy.
I love me some Mason Taylor, you know that. Hunter Henry's got some viability. Kyle Pitts is there.
Stop. No.
But yes, I think in general, unless you want to use a top tier pick on, Bowers, McBride, or Kittle, give it some time. Don't take Travis Kelce. T.J. Hawkinson is solid. So was Sam Laporta, but I think Laporta's going a little high for my liking. Stone Smart, as Lucian just pointed out in the chat as well, could be a good option there at that
Smart.
point.
Yes, don't draft Stone Smart. Don't do that.
That's not very smart.
No, I'm just now seeing that the question is worded as wait until the last round. Yeah, maybe don't wait till the last round.
No, I'm not waiting until that long. But
No. I would say, look, as Pat mentioned, we both like Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, who Fantasy Pros consensus have them as tight end 10 and 11, so you can get them pretty late. But yeah, you certainly have to spend a pick before the last round to get them. I would say start thinking about tight end in round 9 at the latest. If you miss out on those top guys, that's where I want to try to get a guy. Like you can certainly find one if you wait until the literal last round, maybe. But I'm shooting for. I think the investment is worth it around round 9, 10 for these guys versus waiting the extra 5 rounds and getting a guy who just has a much lower chance of being a real difference maker. Next question here. We've got, what's your most controversial draft take for this year? In parentheses, star player that could be a bust, bench player that could be a steal. This question from Celtics fan. My most controversial draft take. I have thoughts, Pat, and I will allow you.
Go ahead.
Want me to go ahead? All right.
Go ahead.
Controversial draft take. Now, this isn't necessarily controversial, but it might be a little. It might be a little controversial. My draft take is draft Ashton Genty. Stop being pussies. That's my take. I am seeing.
Is that controversial?
It's controversial in the sense that I guess I should specify this. It's not just draft Ashton Genty. Don't be afraid to draft Ashton Genty in the first half of the first round. Don't be afraid to draft Ashton Genty in the top 5 if you want him. I don't understand all the hesitation surrounding the guy. Because everything I've seen people say comes down to a few things. 1, the Raiders O-line is bad. It's not that bad. I mentioned that on the show a couple weeks ago as well. It's not good, but it's not that bad to where it's going to be prohibitive of a talent like Ashton Genty producing for fantasy football. I don't think people are truly grasping, and again, I said this about Bowers, I said this about Travis Hunter as well, during our My Guys episode. Like, you have to remember and really lock into your head when a player is really fucking good at football. And Ashton Genty is like one of the most generational prospects to come into the league from just everything you want in a running back. So he's really fucking good at football. The O-line is not literal bottom tier. Like, this is not the 32nd best O-line. I don't even think this is a bottom 5 O-line in the league. So great talent, okay-ish enough O-line. And maybe I think where I differ the most from the general public and why people are iffy on the Raiders or on Gentry is because of the Raiders offense. There are people that are like, well, you can't be a great fantasy running back on a bad offense. I don't think the Raiders offense is going to be bad.
And like Josh Jacobs was RB2 for the Raiders like 3 or 4 years ago. And that was with John Gruden.
Oh my God. Pat, do you know how many people I've heard reference Josh Jacobs' 2023 season where he was terrible? And they're like, hey, Josh Jacobs is pretty good and he was bad with that team. Guys,
you know why he had big expectations is because he was so fucking good the year before.
And you want to know why he was bad, more importantly? His quarterbacks were Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo. They weren't threatening through the air at all or putting themselves in scoring opportunities. Josh Jacobs was RB3 in half PPR the year before because he had Derek Carr. Pat, if I could think of any quarterback to be on the exact same tier, if not above Derek Carr, it's Geno Smith.
Yeah.
I think people are ignoring such important pieces of context. And then take all that and then remember that Ashton Gentry might touch the ball 400 fucking times this year. Like, they don't have anyone else in the backfield. People are worried about the Raiders playing from behind. They're going to lose games. Their Vegas win total sucks. Okay, cool. All that. Got it. He's going to be involved in the pass game. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm on an island here with Gentry just in terms of really believing that he can be the RB1 this year if things break right for him. Like, I hear all these things that people say, and I have counters to all of them. So that's my controversial take. Ashton Gentry, I'll go this far. Ashton Gentry should be selected in the top 5 of your draft. That's what I'll say. I don't care. That's my controversial take.
I think this is kind of good timing because one of my friends just reminded me that we have a draft starting right now. So I'm now drafting, and I am picking at the 6th pick. Ashton Gentry is on the board here. I did not take him, so sorry, Brent. I took Jahmyr Gibbs instead. So get ready for me to talk about some ridiculous things that happened to me in this draft.
I don't blame you. Pat, do you have anything controversial, or do you want me to just... We don't need to.
I don't have anything nearly as passionate. I don't have like a guy that I'm super in love with or super not in love with. I guess this may be a good time. I'm not drafting Mr. Swift and not DeAndre really at any point. Really at any ADP. I do not see much value in him. Again, that's a case where let your friend whose girlfriend likes Taylor Swift or the guy that hasn't paid attention in 5 years, let them take Travis Kelce at ADP. Even with Rashee Rice out for some time in the middle of the season.
Eventually,
yeah. It's just that even there, he's still going. Let's see, like he's still going as like tight end 7, I think, which I still think is crazy. Let's see here. I got Oh, that's tight end 5. Yeah, no shot. No shot. Zero shot.
No, I'm all set on him as well. I don't care about his whole. Yeah, I've been too wrapped up in the fame of it and everything else that I kind of let football take a.
Yeah, as if
shut the fuck up, buddy. You're 35.
As if the thing that everyone's talking about isn't gonna be him getting engaged to fucking Taylor Swift. Like that's gonna continue to be the narrative. If he wants to escape the fame, he just signed an extension with the fame.
Nobody believes your production dropped off because you weren't focused. We believe it dropped off because you're 35, and that's what happens. I'm with you on Travis Kelce. What rookie running back will return the most value this year? This question from Eliza. So I'll look at this from a sense of like, obviously Ashton Gentry's going in the first or maybe early second round in your league. So he would have to do a lot to return a lot of value, right? Like he's already a first round pick essentially. Who is going to return the most value based on where they're going? I'll say by the end of the year. Man, that's tough. There's a lot of good options here.
That my goofy ass was just about to confidently say Braylon Allen. As if I just wasn't fucking listening to the question at all.
I love it. That you should stick by that. Yeah, that should be your hot take. It's Braylon Allen, rookie. No, I mean he's younger than all the rookies, I think. So to me, that's totally fair, actually. Return the most value. I'm gonna say R.J. Harvey, Pat, and it's just because of where he's going. I think R.J. Harvey. I think it might take a little bit. I do think J.K. Dobbins is going to be pretty involved early in the season and maybe throughout the season. But I think by the end of the year, like the talent will show itself enough that RJ Harvey, who's going, I think, around the 6th round right now, maybe 7th round, can produce like a 3rd, 4th round kind of season. And I don't see any of these other rookie running backs outdoing their draft position by 3+ rounds. And unless it's one of these guys that are like, we're not even thinking about, and they have a James Robinson type of season, fucking Bill Merritt maybe. But other than that, yeah.
Like maybe Jaden Blue, just from the perspective that whatever's in front of him is hot dog ass.
Special doing, baby.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked you didn't bring him up. But like,
maybe
somebody like someone just took Tyreek Hill with like the 15th pick. Hang on, wait. What just happened? Yeah, he literally just got taken with the 15th pick.
That's disgusting,
fellas. What are we doing?
That is horrific.
All right, I hope no one's listening right now because I'm locking in on Drake London right now. I pick next.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, Jaden Blue I think is a good shout, and it could definitely happen. But if we're looking for like guys who we know will have some kind of role, I'll go with RJ Harvey there. So good question. Next question. Would you take Brian Thomas Jr. at pick 10 with the threat of Travis Hunter? Also, how do you think he compares to Malik Neighbors as far as second-year rookies? This question from Colin. Brian Thomas Jr. is not for me, Pat, at pick 10. He's not for me.
I think like at 10, maybe not. Yeah.
I like the talent. For me, at pick 10, like even on the come around, that's what, pick 16 in the second round?
I'd take him there for sure.
I don't know. It depends how the board falls. He's not a priority for me. And maybe this is because of just my belief in Travis Hunter. But I also believe in Liam Cohen. So, like, I see the give and take there.
Duval.
The GOAT himself. Let me look at the overalls here. So Brian Thomas Jr., I don't like Brian Thomas Jr. more than Drake London. I don't like Brian Thomas Jr. more than Puka Nacua. I don't like Brian Thomas Jr. I might like Brian Thomas Jr. more than Amon-Ra, honestly. I like Nico Collins a lot more. Malik Neighbors I like more. So to answer that part of the question, I like Neighbors more than BTJ. I like BTJ. I trust that Liam Cohen's going to use him the right way, but I don't know. At pick 10, there's other guys, especially at other positions, that I would rather go than him, personally.
And from the perspective of, like, how does he compare to Neighbors? I think Neighbors is looking at a position where he is the only person, possibly within the entire stadium, worth a damn for the Giants here. Like, no offense to
Wandale Robinson erasure.
No offense to the concession stand workers there, but I think Malik Neighbors is probably the only one worth a damn there. Again, going to be questionable with the Giants and Russell Wilson, but the lack of competition is really good for Neighbors. Again, you could say that Liam Cohen could get that next step out of Trevor Lawrence and in turn BTJ and make things good there. But then you're looking at competition. We're looking at, Travis Hunter. They went and got De'Ami Brown. I'm not like these guys are earth-shattering at all.
De'Ami Brown is winning the Heisman in the NFL.
I think that Neighbors is just the better player, and he has far less competition for targets. But, again, they may end up having the same number of catches with the way Russell Wilson throws. No, that's unfair Russ slander.
No, I like Brian Thomas Jr. That is just, I would personally rank him just, I guess, a couple spots below where he is right now. And where he is right now is like prime, 10th pick sort of area. So yeah, there's just, for me, other guys I prefer by a little. It's not by a lot. This is not meant to talk down on BTJ at all. I just, like Nico Collins, I would smash the fuck out of the draft button on Nico Collins over Brian Thomas Jr. And they're not ranked that far apart. Next question. This is a good one. I feel like we philosophically touched on this one before. People talk about, the question starts now. People talk about how good Neighbors' situation is because he's the only target. But then we'll say Chase or Lamb are made better because they have a good wide receiver 2 on the field distracting the defense. Which situation is actually better for fantasy? Nico versus Puka would be a great example this year. This question from Leadfoot Johnny.
If we're looking at Nico versus Puka, I think the situation I would rather have is the Puka in this situation, because at the end of the day, I think what's most important is being in a good offense with a good quarterback and a good offensive play caller. And you look at the Cowboys, like you mentioned CeeDee Lamb, you mentioned Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, someone else is up there. They've all got, Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay and Brian Schottenheimer, I guess. But they've got, and these are also some of the most talented guys in the league. But if you go more down to Puka, even though there is Devontae Adams there, this is a Sean McVay offense. This is a Matthew Stafford, assumingly a Matthew Stafford-led offense. Give me that over someone like Neighbors, who, granted, is going to get a ton of volume, but it may not matter as much because the quality of target may not be as good, the things like that. Not to say that I don't like Neighbors at all. I love Neighbors this year, but I think I honestly think if I have to pick one of those two, I'm picking Neighbors or Puka. I'm picking Neighbors just because of the Stafford injury. Scares me just a touch. But in terms of general situation, give me the guy on the good team, even if there's competition.
Yeah, I love this question. I think people will use both sides of it to just be optimistic and defend whatever player they already like with CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens coming in is only going to help him. I think the real answer is when you are an alpha sort of receiver like that, like a CeeDee Lamb, like a Nico Collins, like a Puka Nacua, it doesn't matter that much. Like, you're going to get yours no matter what. I think we should find a middle ground where, like, yes, it probably matters if you are the only remotely viable receiving threat on the team and the defense can just throw 3 guys at you and forget about everybody else. Like, we joke about, nobody being worth a damn on the Giants, but, like, Darius Slayton is an underrated player. I think Darius Slayton is good enough to distract defenses enough.
The propaganda's worked on you.
No, I mean, every time Malik Neighbors misses time, Darius Slayton's good. Like, Darius Slayton is enough that defenses can't be like, oh, fuck Darius Slayton, we are going to throw the absolute house at Malik Neighbors. Yes, Malik Neighbors is the game plan priority to stop him on defense, but I think it's different than, like, CeeDee Lamb last year, Pat, was good. But CeeDee Lamb's situation last year, like, I'm happy he's got George Pickens coming in to open things up because CeeDee Lamb was only working with Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cooks. And, like, I want defenses to be a little more concerned about players other than CeeDee Lamb, and now they're going to be with George Pickens. So it's case by case. I think other things are just much more important than whether you have another guy in your receiving room or not that is, capable of catching a
But but I guess kind of just to summarize it, good question because it's way more deep than on the surface. There are way more aspects to it, but definitely a good question, something fun to talk through.
Yeah, for sure. Which skill position player has the biggest bust potential relative to projected draft position in your opinion?
Okay, so we don't project injury here. I do not predict injury. So I'm just saying based on, like, whose situation can genuinely just dismantle. Patrick Mahomes. Is he a skill position player or is it a quarterback?
So.
Smack my ass and call me Johnny.
No, I guess skill players, running backs, and receivers.
It is.
Isn't it? Yeah,
it is.
And
God, I am just absolutely cooked today. Let's see.
I will chime in and say.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a couple, and most of them are in the 3rd round or early 4th. I kind of hate that range for.
I do too.
The draft
I really
do
too.
I'll say. Which one of you guys do I want to go with? I'll say Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, talked about him on the show so many times.
We've literally seen it, yeah.
We've seen it. Nothing's changed except he is entering year 2. And yes, that could be the difference. Like, he may have just leveled up himself. The chemistry with Kyler could be better. But definition of insanity, Pat, doing the same thing, expecting different results. It is the same situation for Marvin Harrison Jr. He is the 40th overall player on the board. The man was unstartable last year. Like, people were starting him, but he was unstartable. And now you have to spend a early 4th round pick on the guy. I think there's a good chance he's just unstartable again. So I'm good.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but yeah, it's definitely possible. I'll say Tyreek Hill. Again, I forgot that he was my 101 in the bus draft. It was the same thing last year where it was like you couldn't sit him. He was Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd think Tua raises that floor a bit, but if the Dolphins' offense just isn't what it is, or Tua does get hurt, hopefully he doesn't, or that Tyreek is just kind of washed, and the deep two-man coverage just kind of kills that elite value. That's why I don't even know who took him 15 here, but I'm thinking about clowning him in the chat. Hang on.
As you should.
I'll dox them too while we're at it. Who took him? I don't know this guy. His name is the NYC Chode Coins, though. I don't know.
Oh, perfect.
Whatever that means.
What draft are you doing right now?
Just with some friends.
Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
is what?
I just
chat
don't know
is
this guy. I just
Okay.
don't know this guy. I know
Got
everybody else.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyreek Hill, fuck them. Next question, do you care to have your running back handcuffed? Played redraft for years now, never cared to roster running back handcuffs, but I'm in a dynasty startup this year. Does this make it a more valid option, or should I still not worry and take best player available? This question from Mac Cray Urish.
I think it depends.
Yeah, I'll start by saying, like, I am a guy who likes to handcuff my running backs, even in a redraft league. I always have. Some players, it's just not viable. Some players, there is no clear backup, and at that point, don't force it. Don't draft whoever looks to be the next up on the depth chart. Like, there are. So let me pull up some backfields here. And just
I guess
tell
to
you
jump
where it's
on
not
what
clear.
you're saying, for example, Tyler Algier.
Yes,
Is an example
handcuff.
of, you got to look at it, a guy who we've seen him do it. The question just becomes is this guy gets hurt, will the replacement garner the same volume? Because obviously they're the backup. They may not be as talented as them, so they may not actually produce at that level. But who are they going to get that opportunity, or is it kind of going to be a committee? Tyler Algier is the first name that pops into my mind. I have Bijan and him in my dynasty league as well for that reason. But like, if you look in a situation where, but like, I think now Brian Robinson in San Francisco, but I think he's going to have too much value to kind of feasibly get him without using a decent draft pick.
Yeah, I look at one where it's very unclear to me, at least. The Rams. I don't think you can handcuff Kyron Williams because I don't know if it's going to be Blake Corum or Jarquez Hunt.
Exactly.
I don't
Who the
know.
fuck knows?
It seems like it would be Corum. Corum is the vet by a year and has seemingly had a good camp. And is listed higher on the depth chart right now, but like, we don't know, and there's a good chance that even though it is Sean McVay, they would kind of split those replacement duties. If it's not clear, don't force the issue. But generally,
I regret
like
to inform you, though, it is Ronnie Rivers is the number 2.
It's always Ronnie Rivers.
Whether he's on the, or who was the other guy that they pulled
Daryl
off the street
Henderson
a couple of years ago?
Daryl Henderson.
Yes.
Fucking Daryl Henderson.
But the way I see it is, yes, I didn't get sniped here, taking Kenneth Walker in the 4th round. Here we go. All right.
Good to know.
I will kind of do it just from the perspective, is it the pick that makes sense? Like, am I going to say jump 2 rounds for a guy for a handcuff? No. Because if that's the case, he's probably not a handcuff. He's probably the handcuff that has more standalone value. That's the thing you've got to look at here. Like, if it's a guy like Algier, who is not, you shouldn't be starting otherwise. I'm trying to think, like, for example, it seems like
you just drafted Ken Walker. Zach Charbonnet is a huge,
great example.
Yeah.
Fantastic example. Another like Will Shipley. It seems like he's the clear-cut number 2 now with Kenneth Gainwell fucked off, and we don't care about big calves,
Dillon,
big quads, whatever he's got. RJ, Jesus, guys from Connecticut too. I'm disrespecting him.
Yeah.
But yeah, things like that. But yeah, I think that with so many ambiguous backfields, it gets harder and harder to do that.
Yeah, and I think in Dynasty as well, ideally, I mean, Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's a little more important in Dynasty just because there is such little available on the waiver wire that if your running back goes down and you don't really have depth behind them, you would be happy just to have the warm body of a backup running back. Even if you're an Ashton Genty Dynasty owner, like, I would want Raheem Mostert on my roster just because I need somebody to plug in my lineup, and I may not be able to go to the waiver wire and find fucking anything. So, yeah, I think it's probably a little bit more viable in Dynasty as well. Last question here for now. How far are you willing to reach for a player you are absolutely in love with? I just did a draft where someone sniped me on a Emeka Egbuka because they took him 3 rounds ahead of ADP. This question from Wolf. This brings me to an important point before you all draft. Rankings aren't real. Rankings matter for about the first 2 rounds, I think, is where they're like truly accurate, where we think we know what guys are going to do, how they're going to produce. Their floors are all pretty high for the first 2 rounds. You won't really find a lot of catastrophic busts in the first 2 rounds of a fantasy draft. Yes, guys will disappoint, but it won't be crazy. After that, like, take whoever the fuck you want, man. And Emeka Egbuka's a guy specifically, like on ESPN, Pat, he's ranked in like the 80s or 90s. You can find other sites, other platforms where he's ranked in the 50s. So like all this stuff is arbitrary. What may be a reach to you is not a reach to somebody else just because it looks that way on the platform you're drafting on. And I think Egbuka's like a perfect example. Like where he went, that was probably just somebody who's pretty sharp, knows he's going to play a lot, knows he's in a good offense. So the answer is it's never too early. You are just playing a game of chicken where if you really like a guy, like you can try to play that game, be like, okay, his ADP's here. I'm gonna try to push it one more round so I can get this other guy who I know will be gone by that next pick and then try to push it. It's up to you, and it's how much you like that player.
And you're also running the risk there of saying now you need this guy to produce, 2 rounds more than you might have been looking for in the 6th round per se. But if you like them that much, you're anticipating that to begin with. I mean, rankings, I look at more ADP than rankings because just to see what are people actually doing, not what does Joe Schmo here think. Because at the end of the day, it is what you think. I see ranking as more an outline. Just sort of, what people are doing, what people are thinking. But at the end of the day, you have your own deal. Don't draft a guy because he's one of the top guys available in the 4th or 5th round if you don't believe in him. When there's a guy who may be going in the next tier down that you believe in, take him. If you believe that strongly in him. See, my problem is when I believe really strongly in players, I'm usually wrong. So that's typically why I can't speak on experience here, but hopefully the guy that you believe in that much works out. And then at the end of the day, it wasn't a reach, and it was probably a steal if they were that good.
Yeah, and this is also why tiers are so important for rankings, because so much of it is psychological, where you're like, you don't want to scroll all the way down and draft this guy. It feels wrong. When it's in reality, that's just kind of how things are structured because that's the easiest way to list players. In reality of how players are, organized and how they fall amongst each other, if you could list it out, Pat, in a way where it was players' names were next to each other instead of on top and bottom of each other with a number, I think that would be a lot easier to digest of understanding, okay, these players are all on the same level. There is no clear cut, this one's better. Because even if you look on a ranking site and it says okay, this is tier 7 of players or whatever, and it's 20 guys deep because tiers get a lot more wide as the draft goes along. I think it would click a lot better in people's brains if you just saw the names next to each other, left to right, because then it feels more like a pick'em. It doesn't feel like you have to scroll to find these guys. So this is a very philosophical, psychological way to look at things. But I think about this stuff all the time. It's you would not feel as weird about drafting Emeka Egbuka where he's going if the tier didn't require you to scroll down, even though he is at 80 something. There's not much difference between him and the guy that's 60-something because there's just not at that point in the draft. So, yeah, good question there. All right, let's finish things out here, Pat, with our defensive breakdown. Again, streaming defenses is the way to go, we firmly believe, and most leagues still do have defenses. A lot of people are against that. A lot of people do not think they should be a part of fantasy because they can be a little bit unpredictable, but there is some strategy to it as well. I think
there's way more strategy to defense than kicker. That's
yes,
for sure.
For sure. I think the only real downside with defenses is just how much a defensive touchdown or special teams touchdown can swing things, and those are so much flukier than anything else that you can try to predict with a defense. It's very easy to look at a defensive matchup and say, okay, this defense is playing a bad quarterback or a bad O-line, so I'm going to hope that they can rack up some sacks. And, in leagues where they do yardage as well, you're like, okay, I don't think this offense is going to put up a ton of yards against them. That stuff's easy. The touchdowns are what swing it, so that's why people are against, defenses for people that are. But defenses are still a huge part of fantasy. Most default leagues will have them, so we are going to help you guys find the best ones for this season.
Oh, wait. Well, I forgot I was going to say something about. I remember. I say this a lot, but like everyone always talks about league winner kinds of guys. In order to win your leagues, you have to get to the playoffs. Every single week matters, and every single player in your lineup matters. And unfortunately, defenses and kickers are in your lineup. So, like, as much as you want to say they suck this and that, if you can get a good read, this is one of the few things I'm not bad at in fantasy football is streaming defenses. And if you can kind of get a good read on that and you're getting like 8 points out of your defense on a weekly basis, that could be the difference. How many times have you been sitting there saying, oh, I lost by 3 points and my defense had -1?
Yeah.
How many times are you looking at it? So, like, there is a lot to it, and that's why I tend to take kickers first before defense, because I think if you're going to roster a guy the entire year, it's more likely to be a kicker than a defense, because definitely. A defense, unless the defense is like out of the 85 Bears, whatever, I'm not starting them in every situation. It's all about the matchup. It is all about the matchup.
100%. So we've got our defenses here that we think are good targets to start the year. Now, again, you want to target defenses with an easy opening stretch. I'm generally not going to draft a defense if they have a terrible week 1 matchup, even if they are a really good defense in general. The Ravens are a great example here, Pat. They're going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL from a real-life perspective, and they're going to have some great fantasy weeks as the season goes along. But to open the year, they start against the Bills, so that enough might be in most situations will be enough to turn me off from drafting them, because if I draft them, I have to add another one, and I don't want to burn 2 spots on defenses to start the season. So they play the Bills to open the year, not starting them against Buffalo. Then they play the Browns. Of course you'd want them for that matchup. Absolutely. Then they play the Lions, and then they play the Chiefs. 3 of the first 4 weeks, great defense, yeah. You're not starting them. You're not going to feel good about any of those. So that's just a good example of don't always go after the best defenses. You've got to look. And
that's the thing is, somebody is going to draft them. I'll let them have that 1 week against the Browns, and I'll try and find scrape for points the best I can somewhere else. I think one situation that's interesting that we have here, jumping around a little bit, is like the Bills. I think if you look at the Bills' schedule here, they have the Ravens first, as we just mentioned, bad. You're not starting them. Absolutely not. Then they've got the Jets, the Dolphins, the Saints, the Patriots, and then the Falcons. I think it kind of teeters off there with the Falcons, but like, I'm okay with taking 2 defenses in this situation, because if you can tell me that I'm going to drop this other defense after 1 week and have this defense for potentially 5 more weeks after that, that's worth holding a roster spot. You got to look at it and say, what would you do if this was week 10 and you saw a defense with 5 great games coming up? You'd stash them. It's just the beginning of the year. But if that defense can help you win 3 of those 5 games, you could be real happy about you may be really happy about that at the end of the year.
Yeah, that I did note that they would maybe be the one exception, is like when you have
I think that has
games that you can rip. And again, Jets, hate the Jets offense, think they're going to stink. Yes, target defenses against the Jets all year. Justin Fields is bad. The Dolphins, may have a pretty good offense, but also will certainly have its flaws. And the Bills defense is just talented. Saints going to be terrible. The Patriots, I'm very optimistic for and love. The O-line's a question mark, and it's a second-year quarterback. Falcons, also a second-year quarterback that barely played. So, yeah, great matches for the Bills there. But to start this off, Pat, these are the absolute top-tier defenses for the first few weeks. So we identified the defenses that essentially are actually really good units of players and have a good schedule. And then after this, we'll get into some maybe lesser talented defenses, but that have great schedules as well that you could start. So this is the tier 1 here, the Steelers. The Steelers always seem to have a really good defense. They open the season at the Jets versus the Seahawks, at the Patriots, and then at home versus the Vikings. So week 4, I wouldn't feel very good about against the Vikings, but we can talk about the first 3 weeks here. One of my favorite plays of week 1, I'm very vocal about Justin Fields. I just don't think is good. I don't think the Jets offense is going to be good. I am not a total hater on Aaron Glenn and what the Jets are doing, but it's not going to be pretty to start out. It's just not. This is not their quarterback of the future. This is not their team of the future. This is very much a building year, and defenses are going to take advantage of the Jets all season long. So I think that's going to be a smash matchup. The Seahawks, I like the Seahawks offense, but it's more like it's not explosive or exciting enough.
Bad offensive line.
Bad offensive line.
Sacks.
It's fucking Sam Darnold. Like, it's not great enough for me to not start the Steelers if I draft them
that's
and get
the thing
week
is,
one as well.
If you can't predict touchdowns, then what are you looking for? You're looking for point prevention, you're looking for turnovers, and you're looking for sacks. Seattle, in theory, could check 2 of those boxes there, because if Sam Darnold has one of his his pants games, he could easily toss 2-3 picks.
Right. And then, the Patriots, like, again, I'm excited for the Patriots, but there will be flaws there as well. I expect there to be some growing pains. So you could, in theory, lock the Steelers into your lineup for the first 3 weeks and probably be pretty happy with the results. The next team, Pat, and this is going to be a hard one because this is the number 1 ranked fantasy defense. And inevitably, somebody in your league's probably going to draft them too high because people just do that shit. But the Broncos do have an objectively, nice first couple weeks of the season, especially the first 2. The Broncos will open at home versus rookie quarterback Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Arguably the best defense in the league, facing the only, I think, rookie quarterback slated to start week 1. Yeah, that is a big problem. They are going to be probably the number 1 ranked defense for week 1. I mean, I get there'd be no reason for them not to be. So great matchup there. And then week 2, Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. So the first 2 weeks are immaculate for them. Then they'll play the Chargers and the Bengals, 2 teams I'm less excited about starting them against. But I will acknowledge this. The Broncos, I think, do have what it takes to be one of those set and forget defenses. So if you want, look, if your league is disciplined and does not overdraft a defense, I do think the Broncos could be worth the investment, and they certainly have a smash matchup for week 1 and 2 at the very least. And then the Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores has done an incredible job with this defense, even though the secondary has been, not the most solid. They opened the year at the Bears, which, again, like the Bears, like Ben Johnson, think that's going to take a little bit to click. If you can target that week 1, target Caleb Williams, who's been mistake prone week 1 with a super talented defense, I think they're going to have a tough time. The Falcons week 2, again, second year quarterback. Penix hasn't played a lot. I like that matchup. Then they got the Bengals. I mean, look, their line sucks, but you're probably not starting them against the Bengals.
Absolutely not.
Then they got the Steelers and the Browns, though. So 4 of the first 5 weeks, I could justify starting this Vikings defense. So that's why they are kind of another one of my high-tier defenses here. Next, we've got the mid-tier defenses that also have good matchups. So a little less talented. But the 49ers, they have Robert Saleh back. They could be a really good defense again. Certainly missing some of the talent they had in Robert Saleh's prior stint there. A lot of guys have dipped. But they open the year with at Seattle, again, Darnold. At New Orleans, maybe the most targetable offense in terms of streaming defenses. So they will face the Saints in week 2. The Cardinals in week 3. You could start them against the Cardinals. I don't hate that. I don't think that's a terrible matchup. And then the Jags week 4, same thing. It's like you're probably not getting a top 5 sort of production there in those 2 matchups, but you could still get very solid points out of those games. So I think the 49ers have a nice opening stretch. The New England Patriots, I like the Raiders offense, but I like the Patriots defense a lot. So I think they could put up some decent points against the Raiders week 1. Then they are at Miami, home versus the Steelers, and home versus the Panthers. So good matchups there. We touched on the Bills, who have the Ravens, and then the Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons. The Buccaneers, Pat, I was hesitant to put them here, but I just think if you wait and a lot of these defenses get poached because of name value or whatever,
that's the thing.
You could maybe get by here with the Bucs facing at the Falcons, at the Texans, at home versus the Jets, and then versus the Eagles. You're not starting them versus the Eagles, but you could justify them those first few matchups because of bad O-lines and turnover potential.
And that's the thing during the year, too. There will be weeks where you are looking at quite literally the 20th best option. Whether it's, teams on bye, guys stashing teams, bad matchups, or whatever. There may be weeks where you may not have much of a choice. And the beginning of the year is kind of like that because we don't necessarily know. We have our ideas who's going to be bad, and that's what we're doing here.
Right.
But there could be a surprise team that stinks, or one of these teams that stinks that doesn't stink. That's the thing is it's sometimes you just have to settle for what you can get. Oh, wait.
100%.
Do these casuals not know who Tet McMillan is? Don't do it. Forget who Tet McMillan is.
The boomer draft that you're in. The next team I have
Someone
on
just
here,
took
Pat-
Chris Godwin.
Ew. He did pass his physical. I got the notification.
I love Chris Godwin. I'm happy for him.
Tristan Wirfs also passed his physical, so maybe the Bucs O-line will be okay. So good timing. We just talked about the Bucs. Excuse me. The Arizona Cardinals, Pat, I have next up here. They will probably be the second-ranked defense week 1. If the Broncos are number 1 against the Titans, the Cardinals very well may be number 2 facing the New Orleans Saints week 1. Spencer Rattler is so bad. This will be a great matchup week 1. And then startable enough for week 2, I think, against the Panthers. I like the Panthers. I think they can be a very good team this year, but if you really had to, you could start the Cardinals against them. Then they face the Niners, probably not starting them there. And then they face the Seahawks, you could start them there. The Cardinals, for me, are more about week 1. I may start them week 1 and then kick them to the curb even before the Panthers game. But week 1, I am going to be feeling just dandy about that matchup. So I like that there. The Los Angeles Rams we have next. They will open the season against the Texans. Again, we're bullish on the Texans, but O-line issues, maybe some offensive gelling issues with a new offensive coordinator. I like that matchup. The Rams just have one of the best pass rushes in the league. Week 2, at the Titans and rookie Cam Ward. Week 3 at the Eagles. Bench them for that one, and then bring them back for week 4 against Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. So that is our mid-tier defenses with good matchups. And then I have a couple here that are strictly week 1 specialist matchups. You can start them week 1 and then kick them to the curb. The Jets will open the season against the Steelers. I am not a believer in the Steelers offense, and the Jets defense is actually pretty talented. So you could certainly start the Jets week 1 and then move on. And then the Miami Dolphins, Pat. I don't like the Miami Dolphins defense very much. They do have a pretty decent front 4 at the very least. Everything else is pretty rough, but they are facing Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. So you could start them week 1 strictly off of matchup vibes and then move on from there.
I would rather start a bad defense against a bad offense than a good defense against a good offense.
1,000%. So that is your defensive breakdown here. A little quick and dirty. Target those defenses in your draft. I'll run through them again. High tier defenses with good matchups. So these defenses will probably cost you a little bit of investment in your draft. That is the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Vikings. The mid-tier defenses probably get these guys a little cheaper, still have good opening schedules. The 49ers, the Patriots, the Bills, other than week 1, the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, and the Rams. And then week 1 specialists, the Jets and the Dolphins. So hopefully that preps you enough for your defenses in your fantasy drafts if you are drafting this weekend. Pat, we never talk about kickers, but I just don't really care. I don't know. You just start
Pick your favorite.
Pick your favorite. I like Tyler Loop. I like Cam Little. I like all the fun new kickers. Pick Brandon Aubrey. He kicks 64-yarders for no reason.
Kaimi Fairbairn, the GOAT.
Kaimi Fairbairn's full name is so egregiously long. It's so
Hang on a second. We've got 10 minutes to kill her. I'm going to say his name. I'm going to see if I can say his name. Holy fuck! First of all, John Christian.
Yeah.
Kaiman Olomeka apostrophe Ekokkumpa Fairbairn? You're doing too much.
You get a participation medal for that.
Can't he just be John Fairbairn?
No, Kaimi's way funny.
JC Fairbairn?
Lame. All right, folks, that will do it for this episode of Brand Coverage. Again, the next time we see you, Pat and I will have our real teams for fantasy football for this year. So we'll let you know how that shit goes, how that becomes an absolute shit show, and Pat goes 0 RB again. Pat, who you taking in the first round? Who
You think I know?
You pick
Even if
third.
things go even if things go chalk, I don't know who I'm taking.
Oh my God. All right. Folks, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back here next week, 7:30 Eastern Time, and that will be the last show at 7:30 Eastern Time. After that, during the season, we will be moving to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday mornings, and Pat and I will be sweating our asses off in the same room, live and in person. It's going to be a wonderful new era for the show. But for this week, for Pat Gustafson, I'm Brandon Carney, and we'll see you next time.
This is the closest podcast I've ever come to shitting my pants. Goodbye.
Oh my god! All right. Well, we have viewer questions here, so I don't know.
Oh no, I'm staying.
handle that.
Oh no, I'm shitting my pants.
Fantastic. Glad I can't smell it. Maybe we should rethink this in-person thing. Lucian with $2 said, "Packing dudes, ayo." We are packing dudes into this draft.
I cannot express to you how small the average pack in length is amongst people here this weekend is going to be. We're talking
I'm
potentially
bringing that average up. We got
we're talking potentially in the negatives.
we are inverted. We're
Just
like
imagine just like the smelliest looking group of dudes you can imagine. And that's it's not that we're actually smelly, just smelly looking. That's how I would describe us.
I don't think that's entirely inaccurate. Alex at 199 said the comp pick we get for Trey is about to be fire, aka ass. Yeah, you're gonna get like a 4th-round comp pick for him when he leaves next year. Hopefully that was worth it. Trading him.
Happy 33rd birthday, Alex. Bran has hated you for several years now.
You are way too old. Fuck you. Just kidding. We love you. Thank you for sticking around. Lucian with $2 said favorite Jags rookie that made the 53-man roster.
Travis Hunter.
Shut the fuck up. Facial tootin'. Cameron with $19.99. Thank you for the donation, man. Said 12-man league.
Cameron.
How'd I do? Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Chuba Hubbard, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Tyler Warren, Tony Pollard, Juwan Jennings, Jared Goff, Blake Corum, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Williams, Marvin Mims, and K-Dot. Okay. It's
I think it's fine.
It's I.
I don't necessarily
I don't
love
love
some of these guys.
I don't love it. So Saquon Barkley, obviously your first round
Great.
pick. Like it. You double eagled. You went AJ Brown in the second round. Okay.
If you're going to double up on a team, that's one of the better ones to do it with. I would say.
My issue is, look, you drafted a lot of guys that like I do like a lot. Tyler Warren, we just talked about how much we like Tony Pollard on this show.
Yep.
Juwan Jennings, although I mean his situation's a little weird. I like his outlook.
There's good potential there.
There's good potential. Darnell Mooney, I love that pick. Here's the thing. I don't like the Baker Mayfield pick. I don't like the DK Metcalf pick. These are personal opinions. This does not mean this is how it's going to go. And Chuba Hubbard's fine, I guess.
I like Chuba.
Chuba's fine. Yeah, it's really, I think honestly, it's Baker and DK that are throwing me off. I don't like those picks.
I at least like how you can sort of play that matchup there with Baker and Goff, that you've got two solid guys that you could sort of, if one guy's got a really tough matchup or struggling or whatever, you've got the other guy there. And I think I like Marvin Mims as a potential late-round snipe there, too.
Yeah, I do as well. I just turned my headset off, I think, and now I can't hear anything. Hold on a minute.
The Pet Show.
No, there we go. We're back. I don't know what I did. This is maybe the only draft anybody's ever sent me where they drafted two quarterbacks and it's actually a good idea. Baker and Goff are two guys that, like, I don't hate that pairing. I might feel differently if I knew what rounds you spent picks on them, but in theory, seeing those guys together, those are two guys.
Let me try to educated guess here.
I think they're both ranked in the top 10.
My guess is maybe Baker in the 6th. Because I imagine Saquon, Chuba, Brown, DK, and Pollard all went before him.
Yeah, we might have gone like a 6. Oh God, I'm not going to say the thing that the kids love. A 6.
Say 6'9".
Fucking no, it's 6'7". I don't know if you know.
What is 6? Kids in the chat. What is the 6'7"?
It's a fucking thing.
Let's see. 6'7" brain rot.
You'll find plenty of results. I think he might have spent the 6th and 7th round pick on those two quarterbacks, in which case I hate that. But I like the names, I guess, in theory, if you're going to pair two quarterbacks together. Bro, it's the most like middle schooler, like memery. Like, I don't know.
Reddit doesn't seem to know either. But it is brain rot.
I've done enough research that I now know where it comes from, but it doesn't make it make any more sense, if that makes fucking sense. Which, thinking back to the things we said and latched onto at that era of our lives, I get it. Like, some shit just becomes.
I mean, we were saying like swag and beast,
swag and derp and whatever the fuck memery.
Derp,
like,
yo,
bro,
snapbacks and
yeah, it was, we're all fucking stupid. Neon with $5 said, what would be a worse last place punishment? Learn how to make caramel and give everyone else a small jar. I like that. Or the same, but with a loaf of sourdough.
I'd rather do the loaf of sourdough because white women are so in on sourdough. You'll find somebody who can help you out.
I think
Caramel seems like a disaster.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So the better last place punishment's caramel, because that's really hard to do, and you want it to be hard to do, and you want the league mates that are receiving that caramel to judge it to fucking hell and be like, dude, this sucks. What the fuck's wrong with you? So definitely the caramel there. Next question, Mr. Andrew with $4.99 said, how do you decide who to choose between wide receiver 1 with an okay offense like Ridley or Sutton compared to wide receiver 2 with a better offense in Pickens and Jameson Williams? Again, it's not cut and dry, right? Like, you kind of got to dive into each of the situations and decide what you like better. Out of all of those players, I would honestly kind of rank them like a mishmash a little bit. I think I would say Pickens is my favorite, Ridley is my second favorite, then Jameson Williams, and then Cortland Sutton. So I bounce around, but that's based on my individual evaluation of each of their situations. It's not because they're a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 1. It's a combination of how many targets are they going to get, and are they quality targets?
I think the other thing, too, is it does matter beyond the wide receiver 2, what do those teams look like? Because, like, not only is Ridley the wide receiver 1, there's really not much competition at all there. But the other reason why Pickens is a good pick in this spot is that behind him, there's maybe Jake Ferguson and then Jalen Tolbert. Like, besides Lamb and Pickens, there isn't a whole lot. So if you look at it from that perspective, like, he's got someone else there, but if so much of it is still condensed between the two, he's bound to get his.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question here. So Alex again, $4.99 said, where do you stand on having 2 top picks on the same fantasy roster? This is funny. Saquon and AJB, for example. Also, for fuck's sake, please read the players you actually drafted in the guillotine.
Do we still remember?
I tweeted a picture of it that I can find it.
I'll pull it up. But yeah, Bran and I rotated picking at the turn. Let's see, I could find it in the roster moves we dropped.
I got a screenshot of it. So this isn't every player we drafted, but our starting lineup was Tom Brady, Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore Jr., Henry Ruggs, Tyron Billy Johnson, whoever that is, Rob Gronkowski, and Darius Geis. That was a Pat doing. And then the players on our bench.
We needed to be a little more criminal. We weren't criminal enough.
The players on our bench that I can see are Jacob Dolagala, Demontre Tuggle, Jake Butt, and Cole Beasley. Jacob Dolagala played at Pat's alma mater, Central Connecticut.
I knew him.
So
we also had Jason Witten and Vernon Davis as well.
We did. We drafted a lot of classics there mixed in.
I needed. I just after Ruggs, I just needed someone. Well, I was video chatting with some of our fine league mates. That was fun, by the way. I didn't show my face though because I'm fugly. But and I'm like, we need be a little more criminal. After I took Darius Geis, they're like, what about Henry Ruggs? I'm like, shit, how is he not on your list? And thankfully, he was available.
It's a good question. And to answer your actual question, where do you stand on having 2 top picks on the same fantasy roster? I think it's fine. When you have it, again, like attached to a roster as good as the Eagles, I have no issue with it. This is, again, a situation where, like, the best ball bros will disagree. Like, the best ball bros love stacks, meaning a quarterback and a receiver. Mm-hmm. The best ball bros will tell you that this is a bad strategy for their tournaments, which it is, because in best ball, you need the most upside possible. And so having 2 players from 2 different aspects of the same team, unless that team is literally the greatest show on turf, which the Eagles were great last year, but A.J. Brown was not this world-beating receiver last year. You want to take stabs at other teams and hope that you can strike gold in both spots.
Yeah,
in a redraft league where, again, my philosophy in the first few rounds is to play it as safe as possible, I have no issues with taking those 2 guys. I know they're both going to be good. Yes, there may be a week where Saquon scores 20 and A.J. Brown scores 4, and then there might be a week where A.J. Brown scores 20 and Saquon scores 4, and then there's going to be weeks where they both score 20, but you're still getting a good floor there. And honestly, in your home redraft leagues, to me, that's more important because you can find the upside in later rounds that are going to help you win your matchups.
Bran, you'll also be happy to know I did just take Drake May as my starting quarterback in the 10th round.
The Mayflower set sail this season, baby. Todd Durden with $2 said, thoughts on close enough.
Monangai, yeah.
The Bears rookie running back. I like him. He seems to be the Bears RB2, and DeAndre Swift fucking blows. So Kyle Monangai is going to take this job eventually, is my take on it. So I like him quite a bit. I'm bored 385 with $5 said, who do you think will start as the Broncos RB1 this season, RJ or JK? Also, I drafted JK. Should I trade him for RJ? So this is funny because I think it's JK, but I would still trade JK for RJ.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with that.
If we're talking week one, and again, we kind of talked about this like with the Texans, where it's like, who's going to give you the most value when? I think Harvey's going to be the impact guy, the starter there, longer than Dobbins. Like, if there's a case where, like, you know, you go 0 RB and are fucked like I'm probably going to do, and you need somebody to play week one, J.K. Dobbins is probably going to be the starter there week one. But I'd much rather have R.J. Harvey for the whole year, no question.
100%. Bailey with $9.99 said the Jags after today are almost done with the Dave Caldwell, Doug Marrone era. After we cut Daniel Thomas, wow, I'm thinking of just the running back Daniel Thomas that was on the Dolphins 10 years ago. Only three remain from that era: Dwayne Smoot, Devon Hamilton, and punter Logan Cook. Well, I'm happy for you that the Jags are finally exiting their icky era.
See, that's the thing, is that like the Raiders turn over personnel so fucking much that like I don't think anybody is left from the John Gruden era except for Max Crosby, to be completely honest with you. No, there are more. I think they said we signed Malcolm Koonce, didn't they? Yes, they did. He's another one.
Patriots don't have anybody on their roster that's won a Super Bowl anymore.
Yeah, because they've stunk for years.
Hey, Amanda with $1.99 said, keep Achane or Amon-Ra St. Brown in my keeper league. Ooh, boy.
Achane.
I would say Achane as well. It's spooky season right now with the calf injury, but I would keep Achane. I think he's too exciting and valuable of a prospect.
He's got crazy upside.
He does. And Amon-Ra honestly doesn't have a lot of upside. He's just a good... I mean, I say this, he's finished as the wide receiver 3, I think, back-to-back years. But that's A, because he stayed healthy and played almost every game. And B, yes, he's really good. But I don't know. I just don't... I like the upside of Achane a little bit more. I love me some Amon-Ra too, but
Amon-Ra's the guy that you hope gets like 10 catches in a game, as opposed to a guy that catches a deep bomb touchdown, as opposed to Achane, who we've seen just rip off 70-yard touchdowns like it's nothing.
Exactly. Omega with $1.99 said, I don't think the Sanders family is doing too well. Yeah, I don't.
I'll be honest. I'm really glad that you didn't mention him at all, because like
it's not relevant.
It's kind of again like it's almost like the Tim Tebow thing again with like a certain 4-letter network that I'm not willing to mention right now, which is like, why do we give a fuck about who the Browns QB 2 and 3 are? Like, I get it. It's all about eyeballs, and it's all about impressions, and people do care about Shedeur Sanders for some fucking reason. But it's just like, who? It's that Family Guy meme. Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Yeah, it's bad.
No, Tim Tebow hate. We will hate Tim Tebow.
The fact the media has to keep talking about this when it's just a 40-year-old guy and 2 bad mid-round quarterbacks, one worse than the other. It's not an interesting situation, and yet the people keep pretending it's interesting.
Who's the old guy, Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, Tyler Shuck. Omega with another $1.99 said, also Deontay Johnson got cut from the Browns. Yeah, also don't care.
What a quick fall from grace that man had.
Deontay Johnson has the IQ of a walnut after I heard that shit about putting bad stuff on tape. Shut the fuck up, Deontay.
That's the thing is like there's a lot more to this story I think that we've yet to hear, and it's just like, what is this guy's deal?
He has CTE. That's what his deal is. Vincent with $4.99 says nothing. Thank you for $4.99, Vincent. We appreciate you. The Mite with $5 said, I'm doing my very first draft with randoms. What's generally the order that I should draft positions? Well, missionary should go first, and then no. Kidding. That one should go.
Dead fish goes second. Basically, here is look at your starting lineup minus defense and kicker. I would say you would if you're kind of new and you're kind of going at it basically, I would say fill out your starting lineup first, maybe with an extra wide receiver or running back. But I definitely think wide receivers and running backs, probably the first 3 rounds. If you go for one of the elite quarterbacks or elite tight ends, you can throw them in there. But running backs and wide receivers are your priority. That's what's really going to make your money.
Yes. Agree with everything Pat said. Avin Vidal Kamani said 14-man team. How do you think I did? Drake May, Travion Henderson. Love it. Love it already. 2 Patriots. Drake May, Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, Justin Jefferson.
Quinshawn Judkins mentioned.
Justin Jefferson, BTJ, Agbuka, Tuckercraft, J-Mo, Rome Odunze, Judkins, Braylon Allen. That's disgusting. Disgusting in a good way for a 14.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, I really like this team.
That roster's incredible.
I'll tell you.
I don't know how you drafted that in a 14-teamer. I mean, I guess Jefferson, then BTJ from some draft spot, and then Hampton, and then maybe Hendo, and then, yeah. I mean, great job.
I think every single person on this team has good upside, even Quinshawn Judkins. Like, if that shit gets figured out and he signs there, he is by far the best running back on that team and will get some play. So, that as much as we do not condone Quinshawn Judkins, if he's, there late into drafts, he could do a lot worse than that, man.
Yeah, agree. Lucian with $5 said least favorite team from a uniform perspective. Every uniform has to be factored, not just your least favorite from a team. Okay, so their entire
I hate those. Well, as a whole, okay. Because I was about to say, like, I hate those Packers like navy blue jerseys that they'll do. To, like,
they don't really
honor
wear
the
those
40s.
Anymore.
I love those Yuccaneer jerseys. Like those were. The creamsicles, those are fun. I don't know. I don't really have strong feelings. I really don't have strong feelings.
About anything, just in general. I don't have strong
feelings. About that too, no, but about jerseys. Like, if there's a really cool jersey, I'd be like, oh, that's sick. But I don't... it doesn't catch my eye on a weekly basis.
Let's see. I'm going to look at the teams list here and see if any.
Don't take Braylon Allen, you casual.
Least favorite. Yeah, most jerseys are just kind of fine. Honestly, there's nothing really overly offensive or inoffensive about a lot of these jerseys. Yeah, I don't know. It's not an exciting answer, but like most jerseys are fine. They're fine. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Alex with 199 said no Tebow hate. Oh yeah, I saw that he beat the Steelers in the playoffs. Fucking Tebow's a great guy. He's a shitty football player. How about that? Media wanted him to be a better football player.
Rip Demarius Thomas.
Yes. Any questions from the general chat before we finish up here? We'll answer a couple. This is the viewer mailbag episode after all. Sorry, I didn't mean to put that question back up on the screen. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to fire them up. Fire them in there. And we will get to some of them before I get off this and go to bed.
Is Jerome Ford a decent backup RB fit? No, I don't know what he is. I think he's the starter, but he's just bad. He's just bad.
Waste of space. Ashley just donated $4.99. Said, "Hi guys, just wanted to say the season's almost here. Let's go." Hell yeah, Ashley. Yes, it fucking is. It's time. It's almost football time, baby.
By that message, Ashley, you are automatically not my least favorite person in the world named Ashley.
Oh, no. Oh, no. All right.
Ashley is the name of the one woman who ever loved me.
You think she's listening? I bet she's listening.
I hope she's listening. Honey, come home. The kids and I miss you.
One of our, 2,000 Spotify listeners or one of our 8,000 YouTube total viewer listeners.
Maybe it's her fiance.
Fuck. Why is Micah still not signed? Because the Cowboys are dumb as shit. Good luck in your draft, guys. Thank you, Leadfoot Johnny. And thank you for your question earlier. You had the question about the receiving, better to be a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 situation.
I'd call that question of the day, honestly.
Question of the day. Alex said, having a rookie-heavy strategy in Dynasty, yes or no? Yes. Having a rookie-heavy strategy in redraft, yes. Rookies are great. Rookies are great. They're very exciting. What's your favorite draft position in a 10-team league? I kind of like the middle. I like the middle-ish.
Honestly, in a 10-team, the fact that the turn is shorter, I don't mind, Yeah, even because like 5 or 6 there, you're getting 5 or 6, and then you're getting 15 or 16. Like that's a lot better than that's 2 spots better there than 12 teams. So yeah, 5-6.
I'm bored following up on my dono. JK is my RB2. Do I wait on a trade? Nah, trade him for Harvey now. Don't care.
Yeah.
If you can, yeah, do it now.
Yeah, figure it out from now on. And someone just took Bashal Tootin.
Giants take, please, from Delusional New York Giants fan. I think your pass rush is going to be a real problem and win you a couple games you should
Sexy
win.
Dexy is genuinely a stud.
Bro,
unironically, he's a stud.
Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau
Yeah, that
is a
could be
problem.
scary.
Is a problem. It's objectively, I think, the best D-line in the league. It's just everything else is so bad. But there are certain games over the course of a 17-game season that can win you it on its own. Like, I'm curious to see how hard they make life for Jaden Daniels week 1. Like, I am very interested to see. But they're going to be pretty bad. Like, Giants 4 wins. That would be what I would say. I'll do like 2 more here. How much of a cheat code is Travis Hunter in leagues that use a defensive player position? ESPN allows him to be rostered as a wide receiver or defensive player. I mean...
But does a defensive player get the wide receiver points? Because the wide receiver wouldn't get the defense points unless it's a touchdown.
Right.
It's like with Shohei Ohtani. I don't think he would get both. But it is a cheat code because if you're kind of fucked on defense one week and you could just slot him in there and start someone else at wide receiver. Like, so there is some kind... Is it a cheat code? No, but there is some kind of advantage.
Yeah, depends on the settings. This guy has spammed RIP Ben Schwarmer about 7,000 times. Buddy, touch grass. It's time. The grass is begging for your touch. It says, I miss bro IDK. I haven't seen him in ages. Please, touch me. Bro, go touch the grass.
Did he just say, please touch me?
The grass said, please touch me.
Oh, thank God. Oh, I thought you said the guy said, please touch me. I'm like,
No,
whoa.
no. What is this question?
Let's save that for when we're selling real estate.
LSU or Clemson? This just in general? They're not playing week 1, right? Like, that would seem...
I think they are.
Are they?
Are they not?
That's a crazy matchup. Oh, it is. Oh, wow.
They usually go hard week 1.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that Orgeron still the coach? I know he's not the coach. Go Tigers. No, I know he's not the coach. I'm not in. I don't know enough to make this kind of.
So
proclamation here.
what I do know about LSU and Clemson is they have 2 of the best quarterbacks in college football. Clemson's quarterback is projected to be the number 1 quarterback drafted next year, and LSU's is projected to be like the 4th. I'm gonna say LSU. I'm gonna side with the SEC here.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Folks, that'll do it. Actually, this time. We will see you guys next week, 7:30 Eastern time. Again, we'll have our fantasy teams by then, and I can crank off to the fact that I drafted Bashal Tootin in the 4th round. So,
And I'm going to go commit a war crime in the bathroom.
Catch you guys next week. Adios.